So I'm here to give a presentation on the work we did on cross-domain ambiguity detection using linear transformation technique. And this work was done by me and my co-authors, Dr. Ruchika Malhotra, Sanskar Jain, and Nishant Tanwar. So let's get started. Now, let's first talk about what was the motivation behind our project. So as you all know, the requirements elicitation process involves interviewing and interacting with all the direct and indirect stakeholders of the project in order to get to know their expectations and requirements. It has been described as the most difficult and most communication intensive aspect of the software development cycle. And that is why, because the whole process mostly takes place using natural languages, so it is obviously quite prone to ambiguity. And one of the those ambiguities is cross-domain ambiguity. And The issue is that uh, this ambiguity can also creep into the written requirement specifications, which can cause troubles in the later stages of the software development cycle. So let me.
Just 1 second. There is a square in the right hand side of your slide that was not in this slide, but in the previous one, it was hiding the text. Okay.
Is it fine?
Okay. Yes, now it is better. Thank you.
So let's see an example. So suppose you are a requirements manager and you are working on a biological cell simulator system, and you are interviewing one of the potential users of the system to guess what his or her expectations are. And during that interview, the potential user says that the simulation settings should have a checkbox for showing or hiding the metrics along with the tissue cells. So let's assume that you come from a computer science background. So it is quite obvious that the word metrics means a two-dimensional array to you. So this is the meaning that you will extract out of this word. However, you may not realize that the word metrics also has a biological meaning, which might be more suitable in this context. So as we can see, this can lead to some sort of misunderstanding between the stakeholder and the requirements manager. So what is a solution to this problem? A possible solution is to, in advance, create a list of such potentially ambiguous terms based on what all domains are involved in the project. So there have been quite good past work done on this problem. So a paper by Ferrari and others in 2017 was based on comparing two corpora by first selecting a set of target words and then substituting those target words in one particular corpus with a uniquely identifiable version. And then they trained a single language model on both of these corpora. And then the cosine distance was calculated between both word vectors corresponding to a target word. So that gave an indication of how much the meaning of that particular word is changing between those two corpora. And another work by also Ferrari and some other authors in 2018 was based on creating a different language model for each corpora. So a particular advantage of this work was that now we can have more than two domains quite easily. And the idea was to, let's say we have 5 domains. So we create 5 different language models. And for every word, we see what are its nearest words in each language model. And then we compare those lists and then try to estimate the level of ambiguity. And in recent times, this particular problem has also gained attention as a generalized NLP problem, not specific to the software engineering task. And in the NLP domain, it is known as synchronic lexical semantic change detection. So the past works, most of them were local context based. So what I mean by this is that they do not consider the information stored in the whole language model when they are trying to calculate the ambiguity for a particular word. So this can cause certain troubles. So one example is the proper names. So here you can see the word Jake. So let's say in this language model, its nearest words are Bobby, Michael, Eric, and Steve. And in another language model, the nearest words are David, Mark, John, Andy. So you can see that the nearest words are all proper names. But since they are different names, so an algorithm based on the nearest neighbor list will give a quite high ambiguity score to the word Jake, which is not appropriate because the meaning of the word is not changing. It is just a proper name. Another example, which is the reverse case. So let's say you have a language model for based on biology and or medicine, and another language model based on genetic algorithms, which is a category of machine learning algorithms. So in computer science, a lot of concepts are derived from uh, particularly the biological field. A very simple example would be the tree data structure, which has terms like root, branch, leaf, etc. So similarly here you can see, so this is the, let's say this is the language model for the genetic uh, algorithms language model. So here the nearest words would be mutation, population, parent, programming. And a lot of these words also appear in the language model of a simple based on biological articles. So here, the algorithm will actually not give a quite high score to the word genetic because most of its nearest neighbors are the same. But we need to realize that the meaning of these nearest neighbors themselves change. So population here means something else and means something else here. They are related, but they do carry a different meaning. So this is what we are calling ambiguous clusters. When a set of words appear together, but their meaning do change based on the context. So that is why we decided to apply the linear transformation technique, which is a global context-based approach. So the idea is quite simple. We are just trying to rotate a particular language, a particular word embedding space into another in order to map it so that most of the words, the vectors for most of the words are aligned with each another. And we also applied some popular techniques such as constraining the transformation metrics to be orthogonal and applying length normalization because they have been shown to improve the performance in most linear transformation applications. So this is a pictorial representation of the approach that we follow. So we are given a set of domains and through crawling Wikipedia articles, we created a domain corpus for each of them. And then there are two parallel processes. First, we create an embedding space, and then we try to align those embedding spaces. And then in another process, we try to select the dominant shared terms between all those domain corpora. And then we finally calculate the embedding score for each target word, and then rank them on the basis of those scores. So I'd like to talk about the alignment step in detail because it is quite interesting. So when we started with this work, we first came up with an incremental approach to align the word embedding spaces. So the idea is that you start with a particular embedding space, you take another embedding space, the second one, and you align it, align those two. That's quite straightforward. But then you take an average of those two embedding spaces, and then the third one is aligned with the average of the first two embedding spaces. Then we take an average of all those three, and the fourth embedding space is aligned with the average of the previous embedding spaces. So a possible problem with this approach is that the results are based on the order in which we are passing the embedding spaces. But initially we thought that it won't make much of a difference. However, we later realized that it does make a difference. And that is why we decided to try an approach which was suggested by Muromagi and others in 2017. So this is an iterative approach. The idea here is also quite simple. Let's say we have n number of word embedding spaces. So we take all of those n spaces together and we average them. And then we try to transform each of those embedding spaces to that average. And then so we get new embedding spaces, then we again take an average of those embedding spaces, and then we again transform each embedding space to the average of all these spaces. And these steps are continued until so they defined a quantity called average normalized residual error, So basically, the idea is that as long the embedding spaces are changing, there's an appreciable change in the embedding spaces. We continue to follow these steps. So let me show what difference does it make. So uh, here, these are the PCA projections, two-dimensional projections of the original embedding spaces. So the blue one is the computer science embedding space, purple is medicine, and green is sports. So when we tried the iterative transformation step, so this was the result. So as you can see, the general shapes of the embedding spaces are not changing quite much, which is actually a good thing. However, if we see the incremental approach, so here we pass the embedding spaces in this particular order: CS, medicine, and sports. And then we reverse the order, and you can see the results are actually quite different. So the order does make a huge difference. And one more thing to notice here is that, so you see the first embedding space to which is passed, which is CS in this case, and sports in this case. So the design is such that they will be exactly the same as the original embedding space. But the rest of the, so these two and these two, you can see that the shape is entirely different from the original projections, which is not really desirable and can lead to inefficient results. So that is why we decided to follow the iterative approach only. So let's talk about what were the results that we obtained. So the past works actually, the past work by Ferrari and others, they consider 7 hypothetical project scenarios, and we also decided to base our results on those project scenarios only. And they involved 5 different domains, which were computer science, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and sports and medicine. So we scraped Wikipedia articles to create a domain corpus for each domain, and the maximum limit was kept at 20,000 and with a maximum subcategory depth of 3. And then to calculate the embedding score, so basically for each word we have, so let's say we have n number of domains. So for each target word, we have n number of word vectors. So we take a weighted average of all these word vectors, and the weighting is such that more weightage is given to that word vector, which occurs. So let's say there's a word which occurs quite frequently in the computer science domain. So we want to give an extra weightage to the cosine distance of the computer science vector with all the other vectors. And then we compared the results with what we would have gotten with the KNN based approach. And we realized that it was working quite well on assigning a low score to non-ambiguous words. Like I talked about proper names, like how they should not be given a high ambiguity score, but they are given. So the linear transformation approach does solve that problem, but we did not see anything corresponding to the ambiguous clusters, which was a hypothetical construct that we had created, but we were not able to observe that in the results of our work. So let's talk.
Yes, I think that you need to wrap up in 30 seconds, please.
Okay, so this is the last slide. Okay, so what we can conclude? We can conclude that the local context approach does work better by observing the results. And the future work, I think there are a lot of fields in which this work can go. But our experience says that it should be more or less targeted towards identifying better corpora sources other than Wikipedia, such as arXiv, because Wikipedia does have a lot of encyclopedic language, not quite technical, so that can cause troubles and maybe not so much applicable for software development.